The Champions League has reached the halfway point in the inaugural league phase, and it's been incredible to say the least. Some teams have blown us away with their performances, while other teams have left us questioning how it's gone so wrong. The league table is far from complete, but after 4 games we're slowly starting to get an idea of which teams can make a run for the knockout phase and which teams have fallen at the first hurdle. Today we're ranking all 36 teams in this season's Champions League to see who's gotten off to a great start and who's missed the target by a long shot. The Champions League is starting to get interesting, so let's start ranking it. Starting in the F tier, we have RB Salzburg, Bologna, RB Leipzig, and Sturm Graz. Salzburg may have gotten an impressive 3-1 win over Feyenoord in matchday 4, but that isn't enough to redeem them for their poor start. They scored 0 goals and conceded 9 in their opening 3 games, which were all matches that they could have and should have won. Their latest win might be the spark they need to rejuvenate their campaign, but so far it's been a rough ride for the Austrian side. The same can be said for Bologna, who put up some relatively decent performances against Shakhtar and Liverpool, yet have only claimed 1 point from 4 matches. They are the only team who are yet to score a goal this season, and I genuinely don't know how much worse it can get for the Italian side. In terms of disappointing results, RB Leipzig have shocked us all, but in the worst way possible. Apart from their valiant effort against Juventus, they've looked truly shocking to start the campaign, and they may be stuck in a hole that they can't climb out of with 0 points from 4 games. In terms of the other Austrian side in Sturm Graz, they've been incredibly forgettable across their first 4 games. While XG isn't the most reliable statistic, putting up 2.23 XG in 4 games is definitely cause for concern for a team that's looked subpar at best to start the season. The next 4 teams in the F tier are Young Boys, Red Star Belgrade, and Slovan Bratislava. For Young Boys, it seems like they've forgotten how to score and how to defend. With a -10 goal differential and just 3 big chances created so far, this looks like another season to forget for the Swiss side. When looking at Red Star Belgrade, the Serbian Giants looked relatively decent against Barcelona, but have been dominated in their other 3 matches. Considering the hole that they've dug for themselves, I don't expect a momentum swing anytime soon. And for the Slovakian debutants, it is their first time playing at this level, and the expectations aren't exactly high. That being said, they look like an incredibly easy target for any side that comes up against them. These 7 teams have all but secured their destinies at the bottom of the table, and it'll take a miracle for any of them to make it within the playoff spots. The D tier has plenty of teams that we wouldn't have expected to start so poorly, starting with Leverkusen, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Club Brugge. The reigning German champions did manage 2 wins from their first 2 games, but a lackluster draw against Brest and a pathetic showing against Liverpool dropped them to this level. They've managed just 2 goals since their 4-0 win over Feyenoord on matchday 1, and it just feels like a spark is missing from a side who have proven that they know how to win. For Bayern Munich, a loss at this stage in the tournament is disastrous, let alone back-to-back losses. Yes, they've dominated Dinamo Zagreb on matchday 1, but since then they've scored just 2 goals and conceded 5 in 3 games, which for their standards is unheard of. Their 4-1 loss to Barcelona on matchday 3 was truly embarrassing, and while there's still hope for them to finish in the top 8, they've been less than impressive thus far. The same can be said for Real Madrid, who are 17 places behind the top, which is where they're expected to be. Kylian Mbappe scored his first and only goal of the campaign against Stuttgart on matchday 1 and has been practically invisible since then. Their 3-1 loss to AC Milan needs to be a wake-up call for this side, considering how far away they currently are from their true potential. And for Club Brugge, a D-tier ranking for a team that's in 22nd place seems harsh, but it's how they've been playing that lands them this low. They got outplayed against Dortmund and Milan, it took a wonder goal to beat Sturm Graz and a fluke penalty to beat Aston Villa. Yes, they have 6 points from 12 games, but it's an incredibly fragile 6 points that doesn't seem sustainable. The next 4 teams that have underperformed are Atletico Madrid, PSG, Stuttgart, and Shakhtar. Atletico looked incredibly poor in their back-to-back losses against Benfica and Lille and barely got away with a win against PSG. They need a lot more offensive output from Griezmann and Alvarez, and their 3-at-the-back strategy needs a shakeup if they want to stop conceding so many goals. When it comes to PSG, whether it's a matter of bad luck or a general lack of skill, they have 4 points from 4 games, and that simply isn't good enough. They barely squeezed by Girona and got outplayed by Arsenal, while also fumbling against PSV and losing to a 90th minute FIFA-like goal to Atletico. 3 goals from 4 matches simply doesn't cut it in the Champions League, and this team appears to be lost without a competent striker up front. And for VfB Stuttgart, they looked great against the heavyweights in Real Madrid and Juventus, but lost valuable points against Sparta Prague and Atalanta. They need to extract more out of Dennis Undav if they want to win games, as well as taking more risks in the opposing half if they want to progress in this tournament. And the same goes for Shakhtar. They held their ground against Arsenal despite the loss, but didn't play nearly well enough against Bologna and got supremely outplayed by Atalanta. Their win against Young Boys has shown us that they have what it takes to win against weaker opposition, and they'll need to use that win as momentum for the last 4 games of the league phase. And the last team to be stuck in the D tier are Girona. Again, the expectations are low for the Champions League debutants, but we all know what this team is capable of. Conceding 4 own goals in 4 games can really hinder your chances of picking up valuable points, so the Spanish side need to be tighter at the back if they want to keep moving forward in this tournament. These 9 teams have had some rough starts to their campaigns, and they go into the D tier today. The C tier is also full of underachievers, starting with Manchester City, Juventus, Arsenal, and Dinamo Zagreb. Manchester City's start to the campaign has been rather lackluster. They managed comfortable wins over Slovan Bratislava and Sparta Prague, but put up a rather mediocre performance against Inter and got absolutely embarrassed by Sporting CP. Everyone knows that this team should be near the top of the league table, and after 4 games their efforts simply aren't good enough. The same goes for Juventus, who played rather well in their win over PSV Eindhoven and played extremely extremely well to win away at Leipzig. However, they looked incredibly poor versus Stuttgart and struggled quite a bit against Lille. This team needs to score more goals and be more clinical with their attacking play if they want to progress in this tournament. When it comes to Arsenal, their 7 points from 4 games seems okay when you realize they've scored a whopping 3 goals in that time frame. Their best performance was without a doubt their 2-0 win over PSG, but they looked very tame against Atalanta and Shakhtar and failed to capitalize on many good chances versus Inter. They need some sort of a spark if they want to avoid the playoff round and a bit of luck as well. And for Dinamo Zagreb, their last 3 matches make up for their atrocious start against Bayern Munich. Since their humiliating 9-2 loss, they've scored 8 goals and conceded just 3, which shows how resilient they can be. Then again, their opposition hasn't been anything special, so they're stuck in no man's land for now. The next 4 teams that make up the C tier are Benfica, Milan, Feyenoord, and PSV Eindhoven. Benfica started their campaign off brilliantly with a 2-1 win over Red Star Belgrade and an incredible 4-0 win over Atletico Madrid. But back-to-back defeats at home to Feyenoord and away to Bayern Munich tarnished that impressive start. They've only converted 45% of their shots into shots on target, and they'll need to improve on their finishing if they want to climb closer to the top 8. For AC Milan, their horrible start to the campaign that came with a 3-1 loss to Liverpool and a 1-0 loss to Bayer Leverkusen is slowly getting better. They were the dominant side in the 3-1 win over Club Brugge and shocked us all by getting another 3-1 win over Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. They need to maintain their current momentum by continuing to show their offensive capabilities, and by doing that they should be able to secure their spot in the knockout round. Feyenoord have gotten off to a very confusing start with 2 embarrassing losses but also coming away with 2 impressive wins. They need to be tighter at the back as they've conceded at least 1 goal in all 4 games so far and 10 goals in total. But if they can find some kind of form, they should be able to get a playoff spot with relative ease. And for the other Dutch side in PSV Eindhoven, they've recovered from their loss to Juventus on matchday 1, but they still look kind of shaky. Their 1-1 draw with PSG was surely a turnaround for their season as they came away with a crazy 4-0 win over Girona. PSV still haven't done enough to convince me that they can progress further, and they'll need to find some consistency in order to do so. And last but not least in the C tier, we have Sparta Prague. Sparta's only redeeming factor was how good they looked in their opening match against Salzburg and that they squeezed out a draw versus Stuttgart. Their last 2 matches against Manchester City and Brest are ones they like to forget, but again, with quite low expectations, they're doing better than most people would have predicted. These 9 teams haven't gotten off to the greatest of starts, but are still within reach of where they should end up with 4 games left to go. The B tier is short and sweet, with the only 2 sides being Atalanta and Celtic. Atalanta are just outside the top 8 and are one of the only 2 teams who have kept a clean sheet in every game so far. They haven't been as clinical on goal as they would have liked, scoring just 5 goals to this point, but they've been impressive in the 2 wins and 2 draws that they've managed. Keep an eye out for this team as they could easily squeak into the top 8 given the opportunity. And on the other side, apart from a 7-1 defeat to Dortmund that they like to forget about, Celtic have had a pretty solid start to their campaign. A dominant win over Slovan Bratislava, a hard-fought draw against Atalanta, and an impressive 3-1 win over Leipzig make up for their matchday 2 disaster. Celtic are a hard team to predict given their high highs and low lows, but I see them managing a playoff spot without any issues. 2 sides who have done good so far but could do better, they go into the B tier today. Near the top of the list in the A tier, we have Monaco, Inter, Barcelona, and Dortmund. Monaco have surprised us all by finding themselves 3rd in the league table, but no one can say that they don't deserve it. They were excellent in their wins over Barcelona and Red Star, but looked much more vulnerable against Dinamo and Bologna. With 10 points from 4 matches, Monaco looked more than capable to pull off a surprise top 8 finish this season. Inter Milan are also off to a great start and, like Atalanta, are yet to concede a goal so far. Apart from a dominant 4-0 win over Red Star, they managed 2 1-0 wins over Young Boys and Arsenal, where they admittedly deserve more. They're comfortably in the top 8 for now, but they'll need to score a lot more if they want a direct path to the knockout rounds. When it comes to Barcelona, they've also bounced back in impressive fashion since their 2-1 loss to Monaco on matchday 1. Scoring 14 goals in 3 games is always impressive, especially when you defeat a team like Bayern Munich 4-1 at home. Apart from potential injury risks that are key players, I don't see Barcelona losing their momentum anytime soon. And for Borussia Dortmund, their hot start to the campaign may have cooled off, but they're still doing a fantastic job given the circumstances. Their 3 wins will be overshadowed by their historic collapse versus Real Madrid, but they currently sit within the top 8, and that's all that will matter for them. The remaining 2 teams in the A tier are Aston Villa and Lille. No one would have predicted that Aston Villa would be doing this good after 4 decades away from the Champions League, but here they are. 3 wins from 4 matches, including an electric 1-0 win over Bayern Munich, is more than enough to have their fan base hungry for more success. They'll hope that their latest loss to Club Brugge was just a fluke, and I see them finishing the final half of the season in solid fashion. And for Lille, their current form has probably surprised them just as much as it has surprised us. They bounced back from their opening defeat to Sporting with an incredible back-to-back win over both Real and Atletico Madrid, and managed to get a draw against a competitive Juventus side. Jonathan David has been instrumental to this team's success so far, and has seen scoring even more goals in the final 4 matches. These 6 sides have either equaled or exceeded expectations, and they go into the A tier today. To round out this ranking, the 3 teams that find themselves in the S tier are Liverpool, Sporting CP, and Brest. There isn't a whole lot to say for Liverpool, as they've been the closest team to perfect to start this campaign. They are the only team to manage 4 wins from all 4 games so far against solid opposition in Milan, Leipzig, and Leverkusen as well. With 8 different goal scorers contributing 10 goals so far, Liverpool look like an offensive machine that can't stop and won't stop anytime soon. Just behind Liverpool in second place is Sporting CP, and what a job they've done so far to get where they are. 2 solid victories victories against Lille and Sturm Graz, a hard-fought draw against PSV, and an unforgettable win over Manchester City has gotten everyone's attention, and for good reason. Victor Gyökeres has been on fire for the Portuguese side, and with 5 goals in 4 games, he has a genuine chance at winning the Golden Boot and taking his side deep in this tournament. And last but not least is French side Brest, who are the Cinderella story of this season so far. Admittedly, they haven't faced the toughest of opposition, but they held Leverkusen to a 1-1 draw in which they were the dominant side, and that deserves some credit. No one would have expected them to have 10 points and a +6 goal differential at this point in the campaign, and only time will tell where this team can end up. These 3 sides have earned their spots at the top of the table as well as a spot in the S tier today. So there you have it, these are my rankings for all 36 teams in the Champions League at the midway point of the league phase. Some sides are performing out of this world while others seem to be stuck on another planet. We've been treated to some amazing football over these last 4 games, and I'm excited to see what comes next. Which teams will move up, which teams will move down, and how much drama will there be on the final match day. You never know what will happen in the Champions League, and that's what makes it so exciting. But what did you think of this Champions League ranking? Do you agree with it, disagree with it, or think that it makes no sense whatsoever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.